everyone, my name is Romany Thresher, and today I have the wonderful opportunity to interview Chris Brogan, who is the co-author of a book called Trust Agents. This book really helps you to understand the concept of online networking and how to use social media to build good, solid relationships. If you're not familiar with Chris Brogan, he is the president of New Media Marketing Labs, a company based in the United States. Chris helps business owners and mid-sized companies to improve their online communications using social media. If you'd like to find out more about Chris Brogan, you can visit www.chrisbrogan.com. How about we cross over to Chris right now on Skype and get some of his insights. Hi Chris, good to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us. Tell us, what do social platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and social community sites mean for a business owner?
What we're finding is that the first time we used the web, it was about putting up a brochure or putting up a sales flyer, and people would be told, go to this page and you will learn what you need to know about my business. And it was very much, the connectivity was very much like the same as seeing a sign outdoors or seeing a brochure or an ad in a magazine. And with the new web, what the opportunities are to have relationships and have two-way conversation. And so the opportunity is to talk more like someone building a relationship and maybe perhaps building sale, but by getting to know the person a little ahead of that. So there's a great deal of opportunity with the new platforms, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Zing in some of the other countries. And I'm not sure where South Africa is with which social platform where you're finding the most connection, but you know, you could find Facebook growing there a little faster, and it sure is in the U.S. It's 750,000 new people a day.
Yes, Facebook definitely does seem to be the hotspot for South Africans. Now, business owners are realizing that they can use social media as a tool to raise their awareness for business, but a lot of businesses in South Africa, for example, are still stuck in a broadcast mindset, and this mindset has the danger of potentially alienating business opportunities. What advice would you give businesses who have been working in isolation for such a long time and they've gotten so used to working alone and not really used to sharing information freely?
Well, not unlike what the U.S. had to learn, and every country has to learn, South Africa will understand that there's sort of an arc to how these things go, and it would be awareness, then reputation, then trust, in that order. So before anyone wants to buy, they want a sense of, they need to know that you're there. And I'm sure that that's easy for South Africa to understand. But the next part about earning a reputation and building trust is a little harder to get to. It's not exactly inherent in how the tools work. It's not lit up to say you must try to build a relationship first. We call that be there for the sale. The mindset being is that we should know each other before we have a sales opportunity, and that I should know a little bit about you and have a better understanding of what your interests are, not even because I need to sell to you, but because I need to learn whether or not it's worth the time for the relationship. This takes longer, but what we're finding is that the time you spend up front, which seems a little wasted sometimes, it seems like there's too much time, yields more result later down, because you get a deeper connection and you really qualify the person for a sale. Now, if you're selling candy bars, maybe you don't have to go to all that hard work. But if you're selling anything a little bit more complex than that, like a vehicle or real estate or manufacturing, then maybe it would take some benefit to building a relationship ahead of deciding if you're going to sell to someone. The other piece of that is to learn to be helpful and to equip the other person for free, to give them as much of the free information and the free advice and the free what goes around the opportunity as possible, so that you can so that they can better have the sense that you want to help them, you want them to succeed, and you don't just want their money.
How would you begin to change a way of thinking in a market where people are still very disconnected, especially when it comes to business, networking, and new media?
It can be challenging. I mean, I know that broadband technology is not evenly distributed. I know that, maybe in Cape Town and Jayburg, it's a little bit better. But even there's lots of space where you don't necessarily, one place will have a great connection and everybody else will have the worst of the connections. Mobile is still far more important elsewhere. And I think that, so mobile still tends to lend itself to one-to-one communication better than it does one-to-many without using the newer tools like Twitter. So I think that isolation is hard to break. I think that the benefit comes in learning how sharing information can drive more business. I think that there are many complementary small businesses. If you run a restaurant and I run a hotel, and our friend Nigel runs the Chippy, and down the way someone runs the travel, we can start to build relationships where sharing that information socially sideways is very important. What also happens, I think, is that the person who shares the most will come out what we call making their own game. They will differentiate themselves from the other organizations by standing away from them, by showing that they're open and that they have so much to give and that they really want their customer to succeed. Suddenly, all those other competitors will look horrible by comparison. And you can only do that once. You can only have one winner making that first game, and then the others will have to work to come up with a new way to differentiate. Otherwise, they'll be caught behind.
Chris, we mentioned earlier that you co-authored a book called Trust Agents. Can you tell us a little bit on what the book is about?
Absolutely. Trust Agents is a book that Julian Smith and I wrote to help people understand how to be human at a distance and what this means using the new web tools. What does it mean to learn how to stand out? How does it matter to start to be inclusive and be in a group, like we say with One of Us? How do you learn the skills of leverage, which means, take your small victories here and move them to there? How do you learn how to do better networking, which is what we call Agent Zero, which is, how to make networks of giving that then, of course, yield some results down the line. We talk about how to be a human artist and what the importance of human etiquette is. It seems like the challenges that you've laid out for the South Africans using social media would be best answered inside the human artist chapter more than any of the others. And then the last is how to build armies, which is how to gather and make power and value out of that force. So between those 6 tenets, what we've learned is that people can use these tools on the web to do business the way we used to many, many years ago before we came to the web, which is, build a relationship, establish some kind of value, and then hopefully translate that in a way that makes both people feel comfortable and safe in what they're doing.
In the book, you mention Madonna as an example of someone who puts her focus on helping young stars rise, rather than align herself with stars who have already risen. Could you tell us what makes her strategy work and how we as business owners can learn from Madonna's strategy?
With the Madonna example, what we're trying to say is that the more you promote other people and the more you help them grow, the better the opportunity is for you to sort of receive a reciprocal value. And we found that the more we promote other up-and-comers, the yield or the return on that kind of effort meant that we had so many more willing disciples, one might say. We had so many people who were willing to talk about us the way we felt about them. Versus when you offer something up to someone who's considered on higher status, they just see it as almost a God-given right. They see it as something that they should receive, and I don't think they value the relationship as much. I think they're just as grateful as any human is, but they're so used to so many people, genuflecting and whatnot, so that I think it's an opportunity for, if you want to really get ahead and build stronger relationships that will yield more down the way. I don't know if you see the theme there. I would say that the benefit is to go with the people who could also use your help versus the people who are in status.
Madonna is really a good example of how we can capitalize on just using our own network, the circle of people around us. With so many sites online and millions of conversations taking place, it is important that we work together and help each other to stand out from the crowd, and it all begins with the people we know and the people we are connected with. Well, Chris, I see our time is up. Thank you once again for joining us and for sharing with us some good nuggets that will hopefully help business owners come to grips with how to best use social media. And to everyone out there, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. If you have any comments or you've got any questions or maybe you'd like to send us some feedback, please do. We'd love to hear from you.